Knowing how much money you should have by every age is a good way of figuring out where you currently stand financially. And if you aren't on the right path, that could ultimately leave you panicking in your later years to try and get all your savings in order. So having a clear understanding of what your situation is now is in your best interest, because if there are changes you need to make, you can do it before it's too late. So let's go ahead and jump into how much you should have saved at every age. Starting with the age of 20, it's hard to get an accurate idea of the savings of someone at the age of 20, but from the most recent Federal Reserve SCF report, between the ages of 18 to 24, your savings should be around $4,700. Now that average does include a few years over 20, and I totally understand. At 20, you probably don't have that much savings yet. In reality, you're probably $20,000 to $25,000 in student loan debt, and that's okay. The important thing is to take notice of your current financial situation so you can get a better grasp of what to set your goals for. If you don't have any debt, then give yourself a pat on the back, because at this age, you're definitely above the norm. In your 20s, whether you have debt from student loans or not, there's still some key things you want to focus on. First is creating an emergency fund. Now in your 20s, especially in your early years, it's likely you don't have a large income, and that's okay. But this is where you definitely should start to try and put money to the side for investing. And good investing practices start off with having an emergency fund. Being in your 20s, you really want to save at least 10 to 15% of your income. For instance, let's say you make about $2,500 after taxes. Then you'd want to save $250 to $375 a month. This would go towards building your emergency fund and investing. Ideally, you want to have at least 2 months of living expenses saved. You should consider putting this money in some type of high-yield savings account. And remember, it's only for emergencies with unexpected expenses like medical bills or car repairs. The whole purpose behind emergency fund is to help support you in those times and keep your finances on track. And if you have $1,000 already, that's a good point where you can start to split some of that money towards your investments as well. Next is starting to invest. When it comes to investing, you want to look into tax-advantaged accounts first, like Roth IRA, traditional IRA, or an employee-sponsored 401k. If your employer offers 401k matching, you definitely want to take advantage of that because it's free money that they're giving you. Second to that is the Roth IRA, which is by far one of the best investment accounts you can have. All the gains in that account will be tax-free once you can withdraw it at the age of 59 and a half. And the last is building credit. If you haven't already, you should open a credit card in order to work on building your credit score. It's important as having a good credit score can help you get cheaper rates on things like car loans, home loans, insurances, and many other things. As these better rates could save you thousands of dollars in the long run, you want to be sure that you always pay on time and in full, ensuring that you have no missed or late payments. Also, to better take advantage of card benefits, you should consider picking a card that offers some type of rewards, like cash back or travel miles for your spending. How much should you have saved at the age of 30? After taking a look at a variety of sources, it looks to be that by the time you're 30 years old, you should have at least 1 times your current annual salary saved. Median income of someone 30 years old is $45,000. So by your 30th birthday, you should have about $45K saved. Now, this amount saved up is a combination of what's in your Roth IRA, company 401k, and other investments. Based on the Federal Reserve survey mentioned before, $21,000 is the average retirement savings amount. So if you have at least $21,000 at the age of 30, then you're doing better than the majority of the people in the US. And if you don't have this much money by the age of 30 and you're still struggling with debt, don't beat yourself up about it. It's not about where you're at now, but where you're headed. This video is showing you how people on average are doing, and if you don't find yourself now where you want to be financially, just know it's not too late to get started planning your finances and investing. At the age of 30, there are a few goals you should be looking to work towards. First, you should be trying to increase your savings rate now to at least 15 to 20% of your income. If you haven't begun already, it is best to start with what you're comfortable with and then push yourself with small 1% increases. For example, let's say you're saving 10% of your income, then every 2 months you continue to raise that savings amount by 1%. After about 2.5 years, you'll be up to 25%. This will be one of the simplest ways to increase your savings without feeling it too much. And once you reach a point where it starts to hurt, you can stop for a few months and then do another increase. And remember, this money is going into your 401k, Roth, or other investment accounts to be invested in the stock market. So let's say that you're saving and investing 10% of that yearly income of $45,000. That would be $4,500 a year that you'd be investing in the market that will compound and grow. Considering the average returns of the S&P 500 of about 7%, by the time you reach age 65, you'll have a balance of $1.1 million. This of course is considering you never increase your savings over 10% and your income just remained the same. When it comes to credit and debt, by this time you should have built a good credit score of at least 720, which this would now enable you to save money on interest because of the better rates that you'll receive on loans. In your 30s, you should be working towards a plan to become debt-free if you aren't already. And I'm talking about higher interest rate debt, not something like your mortgage. If you're having troubles with debt, one of the best methods to tackle this is with the avalanche method. This is where you're focusing on paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first, and then once you've paid, you move on to the next highest, which should save you the most money in the long run. Now at the age of 40, how much money should you have saved up? Once you reach 40, it's recommended that you should have around 3 times your income saved up for retirement. The average at this age is around $101,000. And remember, again, this amount comes from the 3 times the amount of your salary. So if you're making $45,000 a year, then in your case, the amount you should have saved should be about $135K. Now, this is just a goal for retirement, and adjustments can be made based on your personal situation. Remember, the larger the amount of savings that you have, the faster it'll grow from compounding and the easier it'll be to live off your investments when you retire. At 40, you're likely in the prime of your career and earnings, having worked your way up the ladder. And you may have a family now, and probably a house and many other expenses. But it's important not to put off investing to the side. This is the time to go full throttle in your efforts towards investing by maxing out your retirement accounts such as your Roth and your 401k. And while this is the time people tend to spend the most money in their life, you should really try to have an emergency fund of at least 6 months to cover yourself, as this can be one of the biggest risks to your retirement plan. Being at the midway point to retirement, this is a time where you should be trying to fine-tune what your retirement goal numbers are. One way you could do this for a 30-year retirement would be by taking your annual expected expenses, so the amount that you think you would spend, and you would need to multiply it by 25 or 35 times. For example, if you expect $35,000 in expenses, that means you need about $875K to do $1,050,000 invested. At 40, you should also have solid credit with an excellent score of something above 750. This would allow you to take advantage of possibly refinancing given that rates have improved at that time. This of course would also save you additional money. And any debt that you have, you should start to get the remainder of that cleared out. This includes things like student loan debt, which 1/3 of people carry this over into their 40s. The point is to free up as much money as possible so it can be used towards investing and saving. Getting closer to your retirement years at the age of 50, how much should you have saved? By the time you're 50, you should have 5 to 6 times your annual salary saved. Considering that the median income at this age is $55K, you should have around $275,000 to $325,000 saved and invested. Hopefully, by now you've been invested for the past decade or two, and you plan on doing so for the foreseeable future. For example, if you have $275,000 at this point, and you're only maxing out your Roth IRA over the next 15 years, you'll have just under $1 million invested when you come of retirement age. If you're in your 50s and you have a 30-year mortgage, you're probably close to paying it off. And if not, you should think about downsizing to be able to manage your payments better. You could also move to an overall cheaper cost of living area or look for ways that you can increase your income so you can make more payments on your mortgage. This is so you'll be able to enjoy your life while avoiding the burden of any mortgage debt while going into your retirement age. You should also start to have a good idea of how much money you spend from month to month and year to year. The reason for this is extremely important to know how much you can spend leading into and once you get into your retirement years. Like I mentioned before, this is where you want to use the calculation of your annual expenses multiplied by 25 or 30 to give you an idea of where you need to be. And finally, getting close to retirement in your 60s, where should you be with your savings? Well, by now you should have about 8 to 10 times your yearly income. With the median salary of someone age 60 being roughly $57K, you should be looking to have saved up at least $450,000 or more by the age of 60. Here are a few goals I think you should consider at 60. First, I believe you really should be aiming to have more than 10 times your salary saved. For example, saving just 10% of your income and having invested with the average returns of the S&P 500 of about 7%, and doing this over the span of 30 years, you'll be able to have 10 times your salary, and that's just from only 10% of your income. So imagine if you're saving 15 to 20% of your income over the same time period, you'll have 15 to 20 times your annual income saved up. And if you haven't done so already, I think it's a good time to have your home paid off. This will provide you with more financial stability as it'll free up your income, and in a situation where you may need to sell for whatever reason, you have a paid off asset. And most importantly, at this point, you should have your retirement plan ready. You shouldn't be guessing at this point on how much more you'll need and how to plan out the remainder of time you have left to retirement. You should have a solid understanding of your financials, such as how much you can afford to spend, along with how much all your expenses are, the value of your investments, and any income that you'll be receiving from them. And lastly, the income you'll be receiving from Social Security, which you can decide to start taking those benefits by the age of 62. This is all so you can ensure your savings will last you for the remainder of your life. Now remember, all of these are just estimated benchmarks to give you an idea of where you may stand. If you found some value in this video, please hit the thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.